Hey, I just wanted to do a quick short video about the holidays, the holiday season, and why so many people seem to struggle this time of year. And while it doesn't necessarily have to do with changes, it has to do with more um, some of the underlying personal factors that make it hard to change. So, first of all, one of the reasons people really struggle with the holidays is because it throws off our routines, right? We have a week and a half off work, or you have a week and a half where the kids are home from school, or you're traveling to see family. You have holiday parties going on all the time. You're spending all this time Christmas shopping, or Christmas baking, or volunteering, or making presents, or whatever it is. There's a lot going on. So it's natural for all of this to cause your routines to kind of fall apart. And as soon as that happens, we immediately feel stressed. Because when you have the same routine, there's comfort there. Even with our bad routines, even with the routines we wish we could break, they add comfort to our life. There's stability. We know what to expect. We get comfortable. So as soon as the holidays come and they throw a kink in that, it automatically increases your stress level. So one way to combat this feeling of depression or stress or anxiety is to try to stick to your routine as much as you can. And that's make sure you're still eating regularly, make sure you're still sleeping regularly, make sure you're still exercising. Maybe you can't go to the gym because the kids are home or because you're on vacation, but you can find other ways to stay active if that's part of your normal routine, especially since exercise helps relieve stress as it is. So even if it's not part of your routine, it's good to try to fit that in. So that's one way that a lot of people struggle with the holidays and how to handle it. A bigger, more common reason that people feel anxiety, stress, depression, some people even feel suicidal. It all has to do with the external pressures that we allow into our lives and that we allow to affect our emotions at this time of year. There's a lot of expectation around the holidays. There's expectations for you to show up at family events, for you to show up at parties, for you to, prepare the Thanksgiving dinner or host the party. There's expectations for presents and the level and type and kind of presents and the effort you put into presents. There's expectations around all sorts of things. There could be expectations around drinking. There could be expectations around eating. Maybe you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to diet, and you know that people are going to be pushing food on you. There's all of these expectations that we struggle with, particularly around the holiday season. And part of that is the traditions. There are, social and cultural traditions, and there's also a lot of family traditions. If your family has a traditional Christmas Eve party where there's a lot of food and alcohol, it's hard to avoid that if it's something that you're actively struggling with and trying to avoid. If you have a toxic family or just a really negative family, or maybe it's one person, but they just, they always criticize you, they critique you, they pick on you, and they really make you feel down, but there's a tradition that you see them every year, you visit them every year, you have to do it, then that really it amps up your stress level. You start to feel anxious as you're thinking about it. So this expectation, this tradition that we're allowing to dictate our lives and dictate our happiness is what's causing us miserable, when Christmas is really supposed to be about coming together in love and enjoying each other's time and company, and being compassionate, and bonding. So it boils down to you need to set boundaries. You need to set very clear boundaries about what you're willing to put up with from others and what you're not. So if somebody picks at you or criticizes you, you need to be very clear that that's not acceptable, or that you're not going to spend time with them. And if they overstep that boundary, then you need to stand by it and leave, or ask them to leave if they're in your house. You need to prioritize self-care. So if I know that I'm getting stressed because I'm just spending too much time running around and spending time with others and attending their parties and all of this stuff, and I'm starting to feel drained, then I know that I need to say, you know what? I know we had plans for Sunday, but I need the day to myself to recover. I need to take some time for myself. There's too much going on right now. I need the day, taking this day off. And that can really reduce your stress level and your anxiety. If you just set up that boundary, you prioritize yourself, you step back, even for a couple hours, even for an afternoon. Say, you know what? I'm not seeing anybody right now. I'm going to go to the movies by myself. I'm going to stay home by myself and read a book. I'm going to go for a walk by myself. And just take a step away from everybody else and their pressures and their anxieties and the stuff that's feeding you to feel uncomfortable and unhappy. And then the other thing that we really need to focus on to help handle this holiday situation and for your general life is to not allow external pressures to dictate internal feelings and emotions. So why does it bother you that someone is criticizing you? Why do you allow yourself to feel guilty for not wanting or not going to somebody's house? Why are you allowing somebody else's expectations of you, or words about you, or actions toward you to make you feel bad? Because your feelings and your emotions are your control. You control them. So your mother can get mad at you for you not going over, but it's under your control to feel guilty about that or not. So somebody can, they can be a very toxic person to be around and be very brash and very arrogant and very mean or whatever it is, and they can make you feel horrible and anxious, but that anxiety is yours. It's under your control. Why do you feel anxious? Why are you letting yourself feel anxious? What is going on in that situation that makes you feel anxious, and what part of that do you have control over? So it's really focusing on what you have control and taking power over what you have control. Because the minute that you focus on what you have control of, your anxiety will lessen. Because a lot of anxiety comes from feeling like you have no control. It's fearing what may happen to you. So the whole happen to you means that you're a victim. It means you're powerless. It means you can't do anything about it. And that raises your anxiety level. So the minute you focus on what you do have control on, what you can control and plan for and implement or stop or limit, what you have the ability to do, then while you're focusing on that, the anxiety goes down. So it's very important to remember that external pressures don't cause internal feelings unless we let them. So if you're feeling anxious, you have control over that. And of course, it's not easy, right? A lot of people battle anxiety and social anxiety, and and they need medication or they need help in order to cope with that because it's severe, right? Some people have very, very severe anxiety to the point that they can't even work or go out in public when, especially this time of year when shoppers are like crazed. So I'm not saying it's easy or that you can do it overnight, but I am saying that you can control your anxiety. You can control your stress and your guilt and your fear and your anger and anything else that you are feeling that's making you depressed or whatever that may be. You have control over that. Now, clinical depression is a completely other thing, and I don't want anybody to watch this and think that I'm saying that you can just decide to not be depressed. When it comes to clinical depression, which is ongoing for more than 2 weeks and it's serious and you have all of those symptoms, that's different. I'm talking about an event-induced feeling of depression, that you're feeling it because of being alone for Christmas, or you're feeling it because of something specifically to do with the holidays. That's not biological. That's not a chemical imbalance. That is purely driven by external factors, and that means you have control over it. So those are two very different things. I just wanted to clarify that before anybody, gets the wrong idea. So for this holiday, for this season that we're in right now, it's now the 12th of December. So, we're almost up to the 12 days of Christmas, and the season's ramping up, the parties are ramping up, the pressure is ramping up. I want you to focus on what you can do to bring the joy back into this holiday. What can you do to make yourself more happy? What can you do to start to feel the magic like you felt when you were a kid? And I don't mean believing in Santa, but I mean looking forward to Christmas, looking forward to this time of year. What can you do? And sometimes that's adding things into our life, like reinventing a tradition, reviving something we used to do as a kid. But more often, the way to bring that joy in is by limiting things out of our life. Giving yourself the permission to say no to a party. Giving yourself permission to do what you want on Christmas instead of what other people expect you to do. Giving yourself permission to not go into debt to buy Christmas presents. Giving yourself permission to skip the big New Year's Eve rah-rah if you hate staying up past 10 p.m. Those are the things, the limiting of things, the taking things out of our life that tend to actually bring us more joy and more fulfillment. So I want you to think about that, and I want you to pick one thing that you're going to do this season that makes you enjoy it more. And I would love to hear in the comments about what that is. What is the one thing you're going to remove or add? What is the one thing that you're going to do differently this holiday season to make it more enjoyable, to find more of the happiness, to reduce the stress and the anxiety and the depression and all of the other negative feelings so that you really actually get to enjoy the holidays? Thanks. Bye, everyone.